Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Sex Biz Saturdays. Oh, my little music disappeared there for a second. That's all right. Welcome. All right, y'all. I hope you all have been having a wonderful week. It is now Saturday, and it's now time to answer any of your questions for this week. But before we get started, we have let me tell you about a couple things first. One thing is to ensure that you have your free social media cheat sheet, y'all. Please make sure you have your free social media cheat sheet. You can go to qrco.de/5 solutions. And that will help you in your social media journey because, we always have a hard time as sexual entrepreneurs doing all the things. So, Meta's not that, great to us. So please get your cheat sheet and check out those solutions for you. So what's really great is today we have a special guest all the way here from the UK. I want to let y'all know about the wonderful and amazing Sophie. Sophie, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell the people a little bit about yourself, what you have going on. I got your email and it was like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I got on a Kickstarter. Can I be on your show? I got questions. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Yes, you can.
Yes.
So thank you
Oh
so
my
much.
God.
So tell the people who you are.
Yeah, I'm a social data scientist. I try to be a complement to the people who actually know sex and know all about these things. Because I certainly do not. I consider myself a layperson to sex and sex education. But what I do know is data science. I know informatics, analytics, and things of that nature. So I wanted to build my platform around actually discovering what actually happens in people's bedrooms, where we can actually create data and information that's educational from the people who actually know about the things you might have an interest in, whether it's clinical and you want to know about anatomy or deeper into things like trans anatomy and surgeries and things like that, or if it's something along the lines of kink and you don't know what a munch is and you don't know how to get into that world, then we'd like to know from people who are actually in that space. So what I'm trying to do is create like basically a bunch of really fun quizzes and questionnaires and gamify the act of like getting all this information so that I can then build 6 foundational courses that can help people to understand everything about the acts and facets of sex from a very, I guess, say logistical sort of standpoint. So yes, I have so many questions for you as an esteemed sexologist and somebody who's been in this business so long. Um, I feel like what I'm doing is a complement to your work and maybe even could be a tool for what you do and to help you improve how you serve your communities. But I guess just again, coming in as a layperson to this side of business, um, I mean, how do you even break into it? Because I mean, my background's marketing, so to not even be able to really get this foothold in I just feel like I'm very untethered, I'm very unmoored. So, um, yeah, I guess from again, a layperson, how do you even break in?
Yeah. So one of the things that it's funny because everybody, some of us have worked in marketing in one way, shape, or another, and it's funny to me because when people say, "Oh, I worked in marketing," I would know how to market your business. And you're like, no, you don't. You don't know this business and you don't know how to market it because
Right.
you've never tried to market it before. And that is one of the main issues. We're working with a social media team now for SDS, and I literally, I every week, right, I go through my accounts, right, to make sure are they okay? Did AI flag something, And I go in, so I look at our SDS Con account, and like all the things are flagged, right? Like there's so many things that are wrong. And so I have to like screenshot it for a social media team. And they're like, I don't understand what's going on. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, you have to understand, you cannot market the way you've traditionally been taught. It's not going to work. And so you have to come up with other creative ways, and also expand your reach beyond social media, right? Like social media is great and it can bring people in. And, Whitney Miller has this, had a great talk at the Business Summit talking about, turning your followers into clients. But even then, it's still pretty hard because now, TikTok, got the best of her. Now, she's like, okay, well, maybe I didn't move stuff some Instagram. And, it's still such a difficult landscape when it comes to sex and sexuality. So your question, when you brought up your question, you talked about, how do you adjust your marketing to best accommodate for the algorithms when promoting a sex-related business, beyond censoring certain words? I think you have to, I believe Chat GPT is going to be like one of your greatest friends. Excuse me. Mostly because I was just looking up what are some family friendly ways of saying sex? What are some family friendly ways of saying this or that or whatever, right? That would be helpful when it came to promoting, or when it came to marketing myself, right? So those things I think you have to do is work it also into your language. Excuse me for a second. But what do you think about that so far? Have you ever used Chat GPT? Sophie, can you hear
I
me?
will say, like, I'm getting a bunch of, I think I don't know if it's my internet going across the pond or what, but can you hear me okay? Because like you're
I
starting to
can hear
sound
you okay.
to me, so I'm not sure if I missed that last little bit or if there was a
I
bit
can
of a.
hear you okay. Were you okay hearing me?
Yes, I can't even hear you now. That's unusual.
Uh-oh. Let's make sure the people on the
Let's see.
can you
I hit
share the
close
link for
out
that sheet
everything
again?
else just to see if I could, if that was the problem, but no. I'm gonna refresh this
Okay.
and
Yeah, no problem.
see if that helps a little bit. I'm so sorry.
No problem. No problem. Please take your time. We are here. We know technology can be a little funny sometimes, so no worries. Do whatever you need to do. I will share. Somebody asked for the folks on Instagram said they are okay. They can hear everything. As far as the link to the sheet for the 5 solutions, it's qrco.de/5 solutions. If you want to get that social media cheat sheet, because we can't market ourselves in the same way. We just really can't. And even traditional marketers are having a hard time. And like I said, when I was on, I was telling my team, like, hey, this thing that you think is going to work is not actually going to work. And we've been flagged and all the things. Like, it's so important to note that even a traditional marketing team, even if you've been in marketing, even if you are in business, it's not going to work the same. So it's super, super important to ensure that you have like the things in place. So I'm going to bring Sophie back on. Hey, Sophie. Oh, now we hear like a very staticky sound.
Not my friend today. Can you hear me
That's
now?
better. Yeah, much better.
This is so unusual. I'm so sorry.
Uh-oh. Now we can't
All
hear
right.
you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me
Yes.
now? I'm so sorry. I don't know what is going on today. But no, I mean, like, this is very humbling. All of it is very, very humbling. Because I mean, I've been in marketing for a good 20 years. I've had my own firm for 16 years. Um,
Wow.
and so to come in thinking, "Oh, I got the press release, I've got the, I'm doing the organic marketing, the earned media, everything," and then not like nothing, no traction at all. So yeah, I'm very humbled. I'm very much trying to sit in a space of like, okay, of receptivity of like, what do I do? What's different? And I mean, so to that end, it's almost like, okay, have I messed up? Like, have I shot myself in the foot to a point where, should I just start over? Like, is it so bad that, have I messed myself up with the algos to the point where it would be better to just start from scratch, bleeping out things and like once you're on the shit list, excuse my language, is there any coming back from that basically?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So Instagram put me on their shit list, right? For a moment over the last week,
Mhm.
and it was because I had suggested the covers for my podcast. I had given people, I'm like, hey, which podcast cover do you like, right? Well, they didn't like me. I wasn't. I didn't show my body, but there was the implication of nudity, and so I guess even the implication of nudity makes the humans who when you appeal make them go, we don't like that.
Oh my
so
gosh.
so I had to archive those two posts, and now my page should be okay. But even the implication of nudity, even though you're not nude in the post, can wreck, right? And so as a person who
Yeah.
is, a entrepreneur for adult brands, it can be, a little bit challenging, right?
Yeah.
So how do you best do your marketing? How do you best accommodate for the algorithms? Well, we know we have to create some engaging content. So what does engaging content look like for you in this maybe Kickstarter campaign, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
you are on Instagram and you are on Facebook or you're on TikTok or whatever, what are the ways that you are reaching out to your audience to get them to engage, follow you, go back to your Kickstarter and be like, hey, I want to support Sophie and doing all the things. So again, that's thinking about your social media. What do you want to do with your social media? Do you want to do educational posts? Do you want to do some informative posts? How are you promoting some of that content? Like, did you put some of that content out on social media, out on Instagram for people to absorb so they can be like, oh, hey, yes, I can support you? Because I imagine your Kickstarter is in your link in bio, right, for your Instagram and Facebook, right? So
Yes, yes. I've even started to try that comment for a link process where it's like, oh, comment yes, and I'll DM you the link. So
yes.
that's been a nice little tactic. I will say it still just seems to be more about reach. And I think also just amount of content. So I think I got a little bit overwhelmed with, okay, that's not working. Let me pivot. And then in the pivot, it's like, okay, now I have to spend all this time trying to prepare something new. And so then in that time, I'm not posting. So I think it was a matter of maybe even like content scheduling that I could have done a lot better. How does that work when it comes to, um, I guess, which accounts to post to? Because my idea is kind of the shotgun approach. I'm like, let me get something that I can then reformat for everything, but should I be more targeted? I guess what is it better to have that laser beam approach or the shotgun approach when it comes to, I guess, where you're trying to create a bit of a funnel for a specific outcome?
Yeah, well, the funnel should be getting people on an email list. That should, period, point blank, should be the
Mm,
ultimate goal. So, for people who are asking for my social media cheat sheet, yes, they can download the cheat sheet, but in exchange, I get their email address, right?
mhm.
So that is the way to nurture your people. So you say you have followers. So you have, 650 followers. That's still 650 people that could give you $5 to help you move along with your Kickstarter goal, right?
Mhm.
But you have to nurture them because they're just followers. You need them to be more attentive to your content. So that means nurturing them in a different way. That means pulling them. Tayomi gave a great in my podcast, she talked about, social media, they're window shopping, right? So everybody who's watching us right now, they're window shopping. Does Marla have the expertise to, does Sophie have a great thing I should support? Like, it's window shopping. And then until you say something that pulls them in, or nurture them that pulls them in, just like marketing, they say in marketing, oh, somebody needs to see your stuff, what, 7 times is it, in order for
Right,
them
right.
to
Rule
try
of
to,
seven.
like, finally like invest in you or whatever. Like, maybe
Yeah.
that's true or maybe that's not true, but particularly for sexuality related brands, in my experience, it takes people about a year, sometimes even 2 years, to
Mm.
invest in my work. Sometimes it's immediate, right? Sometimes it's like, oh, it's immediate and I want to do this, right away. Or, they have a burning problem that they need to fix. But a lot of times it takes people a lot longer to trust you, because, sexuality is deep, and they want to be able to
Mhm.
trust that you know what you're doing, and that you have the right tools to help them.
Mm.
So
Gotcha,
with that
gotcha.
said, you have to be able to nurture them by putting them on an email. Is going to be
Oh, come on. I think it's wanting to act up on me again. I'm gonna Marla, it's acting up again. So sorry.
hey.
Oh no, what is happening? I'm sorry to be your janky problem child today. It just reminded me as you were kind of talking about getting people towards that email contact.
So yeah, so really, again, you know we really want you to nurture those people on the
Mhm.
list. So again, pulling those people off of social media, getting their emails, nurturing them in email, um, and really speaking to them. So maybe that is, testimonials. Maybe that's, you're just showing them how you are helping people. So that is the best way to adjust your marketing, because we have to think about social media is not our friend. Um,
No.
and we have to do everything really family friendly, which is fine.
Right, right.
But it's still, you still not might not be able to reach the audience that you want to reach.
Gotcha. No, that's
So.
brilliant. I'll definitely take that into account. I think the other side of that was I was trying too hard to mollify the algorithms. Um, so I was trying different things like what about posting photos versus videos versus gifts versus whatever. And then I was even like, okay, let me do a big live stream because, I know the algorithms prefer to show their, live streams. And then that didn't get any traction. Um, to the point where like when I have people who engage, it's almost an immediate turnaround. Like they're like, "Oh yes, this is great. I love it." I'll get a couple of pledges that way, but it's just the getting in front of people piece. So I don't know if that's something with social media that you found, even with these sorts of things, like, eh, should I continue down the live route, or is that like it feels like a waste of time, but I don't know if it's one of those things that just needs to be nurtured in itself.
Well, I think the videos are the preferred thing. Those are going to
Mm,
get pushed ahead. So whether those are reels or live video, those are the things that are going to get pushed forward as opposed to images or anything else. So
mhm.
Instagram in particular they're really depending on they really want you to stay on the platform. So however long you can stay on the platform, that is what their goal is. So, however long your video. So now you even see like TikTok expanding the amount of time that you can do a video because they
Yeah,
want
yeah.
you to stay on the platform, right? They want you to stay. They want the long form content. They want, they want you to be there. So ultimately, those videos, any of those things are going to be helpful when it comes to um, getting out there and on the platform. But again, you got to make sure you're saying the right words and censoring yourself to ensure that you can
You
get
you don't get
beyond. You can make
purgatory.
get on the explore page or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh
Yeah.
my gosh. That's huge, that's huge. And I've even found that with my emailings is that, um, certain things will even if you're on, like, MailChimp or some kind of program that's supposed to get you whitelisted, you'll end up in people's junk mail so quick if again, don't do that same sort of censorship. It's
MailChimp
just
is
it's
not
just
for
hard out
us.
here. No, no, I figured that out real quick.
Mailchimp is anti like adult based entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So they have that in their terms of service, and I realize
Mm,
the email deliverability is really bad for Mailchimp, especially because there's a lot of scammy people that use Mailchimp, unfortunately. So a
mm,
lot of the emails will get into spam or junk folders. What's interesting is the same rules that you have to use on social media, like misspelling words or censoring words or modifying words, whatever you're doing, you have to do those same things in email because emails
mhm,
are also
mhm.
have aggressive filters. So the same rules are going to apply, whether they're in social media or your email. You have to apply them both. The difference is you can nurture your audience better with email because it's more targeted. These are people who are actually subscribed to you, want to know more about what you're doing, right? So
That's a
that's
great
the
point.
difference.
That's a great point. Mhm.
Yeah.
What's funny is, I guess 'cause I don't know, I feel like this innocent fawn is just trying to, like, come in and understand and everything. And, I think the biggest thing I've noticed I is that when you start to talk about sex, um, I don't know, particularly, like, the guys or, like, masculine people, they tend to take it to a place that you like, as soon as you open the door, they walk right through it, and it's like, "Oh, girl, yeah, I could do this," and it's like, "No, no, 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 we're not." I don't know, just I guess to switch gears a bit, into maybe, like, the mentalities of your audience. Like, how do you get around that? Like, people who don't wanna hear the message you're trying to convey because they're so horn dogged up or they can't get past that mist of being horny, I don't
Of
know.
your sexiness. Yeah. Before we go there, I do want to address a question that someone had on
Oh,
Instagram,
sure.
which was which program do you prefer for emails? And so if you are collecting emails and want to nurture people, I prefer ConvertKit. I think they're rebranding to Kit, but ConvertKit is really great because it allows you, once people subscribe, it allows people to, get into a funnel. It allows, you can do your broadcasts, you can schedule them, and it really, I find it very convenient, as far as, depending on the amount of subscribers you have is, dependent upon the price you pay, but it has a lot of really great features, including if you'd like to collect money. So they also have features that you could collect money there as well. And they ensure that your deliverability is good. So I went from, a MailChimp 23% deliverability, or I'm sorry, open rate, to now ConvertKit, which is like 55%. I have a 55% open rate, which is great, right? Most people, you worked in marketing, so most people really probably have, I think, around 25 or 28% or something like that open rate when it comes to emails.
18 is great.
So, 18 is great. Okay, great. So so I have like over, 50%. So, thinking about your deliverability, how it's being delivered, that's a huge part. So I really do like ConvertKit. I need an affiliate link or something. Shoot. But ConvertKit is a really great email provider host. And so for your question around like, how do you get around the people who are like, oh my God, you're so sexy, I just want to come on your live. And, I get so many requests when I do a live. People are like, I want to be on your camera. The horn dogs, right? They're like, I want to be, I want to be. I'm like,
you gotta love. It's just not the
I'm like, what is your business question? Give me your business question first, and then I will let you on if I think it's valid, right? Otherwise, I get a lot of, oh, you're so pretty, I want to, whatever, and it's just like, yeah, okay.
But
I mean, I am, but but come on,
so I get it.
I'm trying to do my job.
Right.
We're here to talk about
Exactly.
business. So when thinking about like how do you get past that stuff, sometimes that stuff never goes away. Sometimes I still get crank calls like on my my business line. Sometimes, can I get, it might be two teenagers like, it's just like, oh my God, seriously, you're wasting my time. But sometimes there might be somebody who's actually very valid. Like one time a guy hit me up on Instagram, and he just needed help on how to put on a condom. Right. So I basically coached him through Instagram, and he paid me, on how to do that. And so it really is just depending on, who it is or what they want. But I mean, you can fill them out. And another great way too is just kind of been dominant, just be like, yeah, okay, you want some information, put $500 in my account, and then we'll go and we'll move from there. And that usually will deter people pretty quickly, unless they're serious. And if they're serious, you're like, well, I mean, it's $500. I'll answer whatever question you got,
Exactly.
I'll give you, 30 minutes of my time or whatever, whatever the case may be. So
absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh my gosh. And I mean, so you do it all. Like you've got the consultancy, you have the sexology, you have the podcast, you have the conferences. So like, wow, like I guess so when I see you, I see these different spaces kind of addressed in different ways. So you have like successful, then you have your own personal brand, then you have the conference as its own kind of brand, if you will. So I mean, is that the preferred method? So I kind of feel like I almost siloed myself a little too much because because I've been focused on this Kickstarter all month. Um, really haven't even really given anything to my podcast or my website. So I don't know. It's just how do you merge between the different facets of your business and your brand and yourself, and just create those different overlaps between them versus again, where do they need to kind of remain siloed from each other?
So a lot of times when you're talking to like a business coach, they'll say like, hey, have your one thing, right? So maybe this
Mm.
Kickstarter thing is your one thing. Like concentrate on their one thing, promote the hell out of your one thing. And once you promote the hell out of your one thing, then maybe you can move on to other things. And I think that's valid, right? I did my Velvet
Mhm.
Lips business for a long time before Sex Down South came. And I did, then when Sex Down South came, those are the only two things I did for a long time. It wasn't until last fall where I was like, okay, I'm going to do this business coaching program because so many people are asking me about business. And that's the only reason why I moved into this and created the business coaching program, because I realized, okay, this clearly is a gap that needs to be filled, and I can help
That's
fill
what she
that
said.
gap.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm, I'm 12 years old. Don't mind me. I'm sorry.
It's a,
But no, you're absolutely right.
yes, yes.
No, go.
So
I'm so sorry.
yeah, but I mean, all of these things, the velvet lip stuff was created because that was more organic. That was, that was created because I was like, I need to give advice to people. I'm really good at giving sexual advice to people. I'm really good around seduction, communication. I'm really good around sex skills stuff. Like, this needs to be my job, you know?
Mhm.
So I made that my job. And so that was my job for a long time. Then I was like, I was going to all these, other sex conferences, and I was like, oh my God, there's no sex conferences where I am the majority. Right. So it was
Ooh,
more so out of necessity. Like, I want to see Black sexual liberation. How do I do that?
mhm.
I got to create it myself. So that's what I did. Right. So I
No, wow,
created it
that's nice.
myself by doing the Sex Down South conference with my business partner, Tia, of course. But, we were like, we don't see ourselves at conferences. And, we created this thing together, and it's been amazing. We're in our 10th year this year. So
Oh, I didn't
it's
realize.
not until like,
Wow. Congrats.
yeah, thank you. So all of these things kind of culminated out of like, what is something I wish I had? I've gotten
Right.
to six figures. If I would have known A, B, and C, maybe in my first 5 years of business, I could be $500,000 right now or whatever, right? You know what I mean?
Mhm,
Like, I could have
mhm.
been maybe farther in my journey. And so I was like, I should help people have the tools, give people the tools to help them so that they can also, do this for their business,
Nice. Wow.
early.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just so glad I met you. I'm so glad I ran into you. And I didn't realize that we kind of had that interaction of bonding over the algos before I actually reached out to you. Um, but I just feel like it's such a I don't know, kismetic kind of a thing because I really I adore your mind. I don't want to take up all of your entire
You're fine.
show
You're
because
good. We got
I could ask
yeah,
you
we're
so
good.
many questions. But
Yeah. If you have another question, go ahead.
yeah, okay. Honestly, like uh, um, I didn't realize like Tumblr was still a thing. And so I just kind of started my little Tumblr account, and that's been actually a really nice place, especially for, I guess, reaching out to queer people and the LGBTQ community. Um, so when it comes to, I guess, Black queerness and queerness in general, um, how does that world sort of incorporate into your business or into business planning and reaching out to audiences? Because I know we're in Pride Month, and I guess I wanna do things that are a little bit more substantial than just putting a rainbow on everything. Um, so I don't know, how can we be better advocates from a business perspective to those, also othered and also marginalized communities so that we can, hopefully start making a dent for all of us?
Yeah. I mean, Blackness and queerness is me. So I'm going to naturally attract all those people who are very similar in a sense, right? So
Mm,
I don't like everything I speak about, I speak from an inclusive perspective because those are my people. Everybody's my people, folks who are, disabled. I'm not disabled, but folks who are disabled are my people, right? Like folks who
yeah.
are survivors, sex workers, neurodivergent, like these are my people. And these are the people who normally don't get centered in sex spaces.
Yes.
So for me, it's
Yes.
important that that's pretty much why we created Sex Down South, because we're like, wait a minute, why aren't we being centered in these spaces? Why is it just feel so like plain, and like
So
the
vanilla.
vibrancy, the vibrancy of, of color, of nuance, of depth,
Yeah.
of being in alternative sexual communities. This is my life, and this is how I've lived my life, my whole entire life. So I don't know any other way to be, Sophie. Um,
Oh.
and I think, that is just who I am. And um, but I think part of that is naming it too, right? Like if you go on my website,
Mm.
you'll see like these are all the identities that I hold, right? And
Mhm.
probably some more, but these are the ones that I have so far.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, it's similar to that. It's just kind of like, and if you have something similar, maybe you're a Taurus too. I don't know, but maybe you found something that connects you to me, and that feels good, you know.
Aw,
Um,
nice, nice.
yeah,
I like that.
yeah. So
I
I
guess
don't know
it's like
necessarily like, yeah, because I'm like, yeah, it's
yeah,
Pride Month, and yeah, we want to do the rainbows, or it's Black History Month, and we want to do the black. But for me, those things
exactly.
run all the time, like that.
Mhm.
Like those things are always a constant. So I'm okay with
I
that.
love
They're
that.
always a constant.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
good.
I'm
There's
lifting
always things are always gonna be.
I'm lifting that up. And I love that because, like, okay, my little brother, has 3 kids, and he had 2 before I had any, and so all the time, he'd say, "Oh, you don't know. You don't know what it's like until you won't know, you can't know what it's like until you have it." So then when I had a kid, I was like, "Yeah, there's nothing you couldn't have just communicated to me to understand what you were trying to convey that you felt I couldn't understand." So I don't know, I guess that's a good mentality to move into with this. I love that you said you're not disabled. You don't hold certain identities, but you still can, empathize and understand and include and center those things. I think that's absolutely beautiful. So that's something I think that's the lesson I'm going to pull from this. That's the little gem or nugget you've given to me. Thank you. Like you don't have to be a thing to help center that thing. I love that.
Exactly. We, when for Sex Down South, we were like, okay, well, what about the people who are parents? We should have childcare, So we have
Mm.
childcare on request. People don't request it, but sometimes people bring their babies. I bring mine, so like
Aw.
but it's one of those things I think people are like, I don't want a child near here, kind of situation. Which is fine. But
Yeah.
we offer that,
Yeah.
we always say like this is something we do offer because even though we weren't, mamas at the time, even though I wasn't a mom and Tia's not a mom, like we did still think about like the folks who are mamas, and we still want them to be present and tap into their sexuality and sexual liberation like anybody
Mhm.
can. So
Yeah.
but it is a different club. When you walk into the parent club, it is a different, like it is a different, it's like a, I don't know what to call it, like a veil kind of lifts up that
True.
you don't
That's
have
true.
before you have a child. It is
That's true.
something
I mean,
different.
like,
Yeah.
you can't you're right. I think you definitely get the, "Oh, okay. I get it." You get it. But again, at the same time, if somebody said something to the effect of, "You don't have to be a pilot to know when a plane is going down." And so I think it's kind of one of those things where, yeah, if you go through the schooling and education and you get into that club, yes, you have a certain perspective and you can gain a certain lens, but ultimately, yeah, I think as long as we're good at communication and, like you said, being inclusive and centering others and the othered, um, it shouldn't be a problem to help everybody understand everybody. And I think that's really the crux of what I'm trying to do is, I want to hear from everybody about their experiences so that we can then kind of start to see ourselves in the othered. So like my first podcast was with a couple I know who are Black lesbians, and I feel like we learned so much about foreplay, about just relationships, about pleasure, about um, the the female orgasm and all kind of stuff that I think straight men could learn from. So it wasn't, it's not about I think trying to identify how everybody's so different, and how we break into those
Mhm.
differences. But I think just, outlining or highlighting how people are unique so that we can see how those uniquenesses can be applied in our own worlds. Um, I think that's just a beautiful thing. So, that's really why I'm doing what I'm doing. I really want everything to be kind of more analytical and data focused. I guess so that kind of moves me into maybe another question, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, go ahead.
but like, I guess, as I'm building this, being somebody who is very much a nerd and very much in the numbers on it, um, I'm trying to center myself as, Black women are not, statistically and, you know, in actuality, empirically, we're not the most desired, race gender combination, unfortunately. So I'm kind of trying to use that almost as a superpower to say, hey, listen, I'm not attractive. I'm not who you're coming here to try to get turned on by. So let me walk you through. Let's walk together through this understanding and through this learning. So I'm trying to present myself almost like the reading rainbow, plump, pleasant host. We're just going to walk through this learning together, kind of a thing. Um, and so, that's where I'm positioned, is almost like, yes, I have a master's degree in informatics. I've worked in research and, done so much in that vein. And that's where I'm applying that to building these courses. But I'm really trying to come at it from a layman's perspective, so when I, am building this and then when I'm asking those questions and building the quizzes and things, I really do want to engage actual, professionals in this, sex workers, sexologists, sex therapists, uh, urologists, gynecologists, like all the people who know the things, so that I can ask the general populace the right questions, so that I can build the courses in a way that might be pulling an authentic answer from people, but that's asking the right question to do that. So, as a clinician, I would say, like, how can I marry those worlds together better? Is it something where I should try to build almost like a cadre or like bevy of professionals that I reach out to, or should I have one or two folks on call that even maybe have on like a retainer kind of a thing where they are almost like the product testers of these things, or should I actually hire a professional to help build the curricula and the quizzes? Like, I'm not sure how large that pool needs to be, what I need to do to engage those folks in a way that's respectful of their time and their businesses as well. Um, so that's a very long question. But yeah, just how do you marry those worlds of not knowing something and then respectfully, you know, and even financially tapping the professionals to help build something of this nature?
Yeah. So I think part of it is it's got to be maybe a collaborative experience, with folks, right?
Mm,
So there are people who have platforms who have, my classes, have other people's classes on their platforms, right? And that's something simple like a licensing fee. So you could do something
mm,
like, hey, I would love for you to build this thing. I need a class on this. I can support you, with a licensing fee, a non-exclusive licensing fee or whatever. So you could do something along those lines. And that's
mm,
really great for an educator like me because it's passive income. I give you the class once. I don't have to think about it ever again. And I get money in my account every month. Right. Um,
mhm,
or yearly, however you set up the licensing. But I think most of mine are monthly. Um,
mhm,
and also thinking about you want the experts of whatever it is, right? So if it's like, oh, you want to talk about booty stuff, then maybe you go see, you hire Luna, or you be like, hey Luna, I need a class on all things booty, like can you do maybe a 3-part series on the booty or whatever, hire her, do the licensing fee, something along those lines. I feel like that is probably your best way. It's sort of like collecting the educators
mm,
um, that are known or have particular specialties, because we all have different specialties, right? So maybe you're
mhm,
like, oh, Jamanika's really great at, she's called the trauma queen, right? So, you're like, okay,
Mm.
Jamanika, the trauma queen, can you create, some classes on, on this or whatever, right? So I think it's really about expanding your network. And when you're expanding your network,
Mhm.
that means you need to go to places, go to conferences like Sex
Yeah.
Down South, or go to,
Yes.
reach out and really get to know people and their specialties. So, but we're out here, we're doing the things. It's just a matter of connecting with them to do so. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah. Somebody said,
Good.
the mark on Facebook says, as a hypnotherapist of color, I do understand when you say there are times when I'm the only person that looks like me. Um, so yeah, because there's a lot of times and it's funny how you kind of positioned yourself as like, I'm the cheeky sex educator, and like you're positioning,
Mm.
you're doing that on purpose, right? You're branding yourself like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, however you want to brand yourself, that's also important. Um, and your charisma, the things that are going to make you the most exciting and want people to buy it. Um, that those are the things that you need to think about, like what makes you unique, right?
Mm. Mm.
What makes people want to buy this thing from you to support you, right? Speaking of support, make
Got
sure
it.
you support Sophie on the Kickstarter campaign, please.
Thank
It's
you guys.
bit.ly / all caps SWSKSHI.
Thank you. That's very
Yeah,
kind of you.
absolutely. Yeah. Does
I
that help you with the thinking about how
oh my
to
gosh,
move forward with your educational
do you know how
program?
many notes I have right now? Yes, girl. So no, I really, really appreciate it because I mean, and I still I feel like I'm gonna try to catch you offline at some point and just be like, look, what's your fee? What's your rate? Let's go. Because I definitely understand the importance of having somebody who's knowledgeable in this, not only for my business growth, but also I think just the fact that everything I'm doing is hopefully to humanize all this. So even when you were saying earlier, like people are like, oh, I don't want to bring my kids to this, or there's got to be this strict separation between who I am when I'm seeking pleasure versus who I am out in the world. I feel like those lines can very easily be blurred and in a way that's not um harmful to kids. I think we can certainly respect that line of what's age appropriate while still acknowledging that sometimes you know we want to feel pleasure or be ourselves or exhibit our orientations or do certain things that have been so taboo for so long when they really why should they be? I feel like if heteronormativity can be as blatant as it is, why is there a need to hide who you love and how you love? And especially again, if you can do it in a way that's not going to be you know, pushing things towards children in a way that could be, you know, I don't know, that's age inappropriate, but that's my goal. I want to make sure it's not looked down upon to be a femdom or to enjoy being spanked or to be gay or any of these things. Like we're all people. So I just want to find those common threads. So yeah, thank you. It does help a lot. It makes me feel a lot better. I feel like I have a lot of homework to do. I'm definitely downloading uh the 5 solutions like right now. Um and yeah, I hope to engage you further about your services because I mean you're so stellar. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming on. And it was a bit last minute, but thank you so much for, being here. And I'm happy, to help you in any way that I can. So folks, please make sure you support Sophie in the Kickstarter campaign. It's
Thank you.
bit.ly / all caps SWSKSHI. So please, please, please make sure you check that out. And if you are some folks, so people are loving it on Instagram. They say they love that this conversation is happening. It's been very informative. So like, I think I should have more people on. This seems kind of amazing.
Okay.
So if
Well,
you're
I put
interested,
some streams up, so I'm hoping, this went out to some of my people too, hopefully. So hi.
yeah, absolutely. So please make sure you uh please make sure that you check out Sophie. What else did I want to say? If you are interested in being a possible guest, me answering your questions about business, please just hit me up. You can email me at Marla at sexdown. Oh my gosh, nope, that's not it. Actually, you can email my assistant, get tips, GETTIPS at velvetlipssexed.com. So if you want to be on the show, let's talk about it. Let's try to get you on the show and get some of your questions answered. And I think that would be helpful. Awesome. Oh, thank you. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sophie. I can't believe it's been almost an hour, but this was a very, very fruitful conversation. And please feel free to hit me up anytime. And I hope that I will see you at SDS next year.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I will be there with bells on. I really wish I could come this time around. I don't know if I would be there. I had a baby very, very, very early, so she's just very, immunocompromised at this point. But yeah, we're planning on coming for sure. Thank you.
Good. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. And we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. Get those questions in. If you have a question, of course, you can submit your question qrco.de/successama to submit your questions. For folks who did send me questions and we didn't get to them today, we will get to them next week, I promise. But it was really just great to have Sophie on, and I will make sure I answer your questions first before I take on the guest. So no worries. We have plenty of content to cover, and we will see you all next week. All right. All right. Bye.
Bye.